the Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network presents Worldview Media Podcast, where Gordon and Joyce Runyon view popular media through the lens of the biblical five-point covenant model to help believers appreciate and apply principles of exciting narrative and engaging storytelling.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
We got one advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow. The end is near.
Coming to you live from inside the Hulkbuster armor.
Whoa, smells weird in here.
Crowded. It's a little crowded.
Did someone take off their shoes? This is weird.
This is weird.
It's like corn chips in here.
We should maybe just open it or get out of here.
Open a window.
The helmet part.
Oh. This is the Worldview Media Podcast. I'm your host, Gordon Runyon. Somewhere in studio with me is my co-host, Joyce Runyon. Hello.
Hello. She says as she's falling.
We have the entire Worldview Media Podcast team on hand. Podcast cast. That's Carmen. Hello.
Hi.
That's Jordan. Hello.
Hello.
And that over there is Reagan.
Hello.
That thing.
Worldview Media Podcast coming at you on the Reconstructionist Radio Network, your one-stop shop for all your dominionizing needs.
Get it out of the way.
We are the most awesome award-winning podcast that has never won an award.
All right. That's quite a distinction to have.
You know, Leonardo DiCaprio didn't win an Oscar
For what?
many years. I don't know. I'm not like
For
that crazy a
anything.
fan, but just saying, we're on a similar level.
Well, but he did win now, though, so he's...
Well, it took him a while.
He's so much better than we are.
What was the
There's
award
a small
for the
gap to
iCarly
close.
thing? The
Oh,
Webby?
The iWebby?
the Webby
Oh, I don't
Awards.
know.
They had to go to, like, Tokyo or something to get it.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
We have the Potty Awards.
That is what we have. We've already talked about the potties.
Yeah. Everybody knows that we're on top of the potties.
y'all make that sound like it's not good.
No, it's what it is.
Potty is short for podcasting.
Yeah, it's great. What did you think it was for?
Just clearing it up so everybody
Just
knows.
clearing the air about the potty?
Get stuffy inside the armor. All right, if you couldn't guess from the introduction and from all of the craziness, we're here to talk about Avengers Infinity Wars. Is it Infinity War or Infinity Wars?
Infinity War.
War.
They're
What
not
is it
in
good
the
for?
wars.
Absolutely.
We haven't found anything yet.
All right, so a lot of hype on this movie, a lot of anticipation.
A lot of people.
A lot of people in the movie, involved in the movie.
Yeah, lots of stuff about how are they going to fit all these characters in there.
Seamlessly.
And so let's go around and just kind of talk about how you felt about it. Give it a letter grade. Talk about your feelings.
A.
How this left you.
Why not?
All right,
I'll
go
throw
ahead.
it an A.
Go ahead.
5 stars.
A, 5 stars.
A 5 stars. 10 out of 10.
What'd you...
100%.
Is it your favorite movie ever?
No.
What is your favorite movie ever?
I don't have one. I don't think.
Oh, okay. Not Titanic.
No, definitely not.
She
Bottom
hates
of the list.
Bottom of the list.
Can't pick a favorite, but if I had to pick a worst.
I thought this one was really fun though, and different. Definitely not predictable, I'd say.
It was surprising to you?
Surprising to me. Left me in shock. Left me shook.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see the movie?
Yes.
It didn't leave me shook.
Didn't leave you shook.
No.
I was shooketh. I was real shook.
You're real shook.
Yeah.
Because of what? Because of
Well,
what?
I don't want to say.
It just was unexpected.
It was unexpected. I just felt like
It's not
a resolve was never met in
Are
a
we going to
way.
do spoilers? Are we talking spoilers here?
We're not saying nothing. We're
I'm
just
not saying
saying that she was shook.
Yeah, I know, but through the rest of the podcast, are we going to worry about spoilers and stuff?
I think we should be mindful.
I think
We're the only people that haven't seen it, probably.
Half,
let's put it.
half the sentient beings in the universe have already seen it.
That's true.
So,
Okay, from this point, if you don't want spoilers,
It's time to turn off the podcast.
It's time to go listen to one of our other potty-winning casts.
Podcast.
Yeah,
this is the only potty winning.
we haven't finished it yet. How could it win a potty?
No, like our podcast.
I don't think I ever got to finish my thought earlier.
Well, go ahead. It was
Well,
you
did
were
you keep
shook.
it?
I don't know if I did. I think I was
When
saying
the train stalls on the tracks,
it's hard to get it going
you
again.
just say the train has stopped.
No, I'm gonna try and restart.
no.
She's got something to say. Let her say it.
Get the coal burning. We're starting the train again. I think that the movie didn't resolve in a way that most superhero movies did, and so I was relying on it to do that. And when it didn't happen, I just was sad. But I thought it was really good, action-packed.
Not a super happy ending.
No,
Not a traditional ending.
yeah.
All right. Well,
Unless
that's
maybe
fair.
it was a DC movie, which they have some weird endings.
Well,
Yeah, DC does weird things. All right. But we're talking about the real universe, not the DC universe. All right. Anyone else want to give your overall impressions?
yes, Mama. What do you say?
I say it's your turn, Jordan.
Well, I thought it was good.
I heard that.
I went into it not really sure what I was thinking I was gonna get, but like feeling like I was mostly prepared for the worst to happen, and then like they just did the old switcheroo, and what I had like prepared myself for didn't happen, and everything that I had never even imagined did.
Wow. Wow.
So
That's
Word.
so it was
you were shook.
I was a little shook. But once it was over, I was like glad that I had seen it and gotten it out of the way, and I was like, all right, good. Now I can like think about it. And I have to see it a couple more times so I can think about it more.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know, I haven't read like a ton of comic books in my life, but I've read a couple, and watching
That makes me an authority.
and I really felt like watching this movie at certain points. It really felt like watching a comic book in a way that I
Like
kind
a
of feel
graphic
like
novel.
in a way that I kind of feel like other superhero movies haven't really had that for me so much. And I don't know if it's just because of all of the different sort of franchises that are coming together and colliding in this one, that it's like, I can feel where, okay, this is where we would have this is where that chapter's over, time to get to this other people, check in with them, and like you can see, oh, the art's changed slightly or something, but it's all sort of cohesive, like it's all in one comic thing. And so I don't know, I thought that was really cool. It was quite an experience for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you for the flow of it, because that's always the thing that you run into problems with these big ensemble casts and the big multi-location thing. That's an issue. I mean, that's an issue even with I would even say the first Avengers movie. That's a problem, even though they're all kind of in the same place. It just feels very like rushed and jumbled, and you don't have enough time with anything. But for this movie, we went from New York, we went to Wakanda, we went to a couple different spaceships, a couple different planets. There was a lot of different things going on. There were multiple flashbacks. There were like some dream sequency sort of things. That there was a lot going on, just scene-wise. And I think it all balanced out really well, and it worked together really well. And it wasn't weird seeing people. Yeah, it wasn't weird seeing people in different situations. Like when Thor and the Guardians meet up, they meet up on Guardian turf. That's the setting it's in. And Thor doesn't seem like super weird there. It's like, oh, here's Thor, and he's still Thor. He doesn't have to like change super much, And when you get Tony Stark and Spider-Man on an alien planet and stuff, and they're fighting in all these old spaceships, it's not super weird to see them. It's like, oh yeah, that's
believable.
Fine. Yeah. And big credit to the cast and to the directors and stuff, that this is a really well balanced movie. I don't think anybody was super out of character. That it was just and that's another thing that happens. Everybody meshed really well. And it wasn't that you came in and then all of a sudden this person was acting like a different person.
He was overacting, took the scene.
Yeah, that everybody was still that character.
Yeah, they were themselves, but not over the top.
Yeah, nobody had to be put into a pocket to make it better. So I thought they did really well with the ensemble bit.
Well, I too liked it. It's not your typical superhero movie that I think everybody's gotten used to with Marvel. And so that's a little bit different. And as you've seen each of these movies on their own, with the Guardians and with Thor and with Iron Man and with the Black Panther, I was a little concerned, okay, how do you bring all these people together, because they're really different, Captain America, all these people. And they really did a good job with that. They everybody worked together well, even, having to introduce themselves to say, I'm going to kill you. No, I'm going to kill you. Well, first let me kill this one. What do you mean you're here to kill this person? That's who we're here to kill. And so, even people not knowing who was who, they still were true to their characters. And then they're like, oh, well, then we can be friends because we're doing the same thing. And so it worked. Which, this was a huge undertaking with just all of the characters. Yeah. And it was good. Surprising, but good.
Yeah, and I know that it had kind of been an issue for some audience members, I guess. I don't know, some people who have seen the movie, that it wasn't super focused on, like, the Avengers. And didn't get a lot of screen time, collectively even. But how it was more focused on Thanos, but I actually think that was smarter, because they were able to tell a story instead of trying to fit everybody in and just, like, show the world that they could fit everyone in a movie and give them all.
Well, but Thanos really was the uniting theme,
and I don't think that would have
to come together.
Been able to come across if they had focused more on
a character,
Captain America.
Yeah,
I love the guy. But,
well, who doesn't love the
Who doesn't love the guy? Captain America.
So you're saying maybe one of the reasons it succeeded as well as it did is because they didn't fall into the trap of saying, okay, we just had 10 seconds of Captain America, and now let's have 10 seconds of Iron Man and then 10 seconds of Thor.
Yeah. The franchise trap.
What they really did was focus more on telling a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that what it should be about?
And they picked a definite main character too, like Reagan was saying. That's another issue with ensemble movies, is that everybody's the main character. You know, so there's like so many people running around. Like, that's a huge list of people to try and be the main character. But I think if you were going to pick a main character for this movie, it would probably have to be Thanos.
Yeah.
You know, like Reagan's saying. And that really does help, because you have a story, you have a person, you have an arc.
Well, and they've been building up to this villain for so long. That, like, I feel like it's justified to have so much time spent on him, just so that, like, the audience can really get the payoff from all of this build-up. Like, we need to be able to...
And he's been a character in a lot of the other movies as it's been developed. So he's not just somebody brand new on the scene. You know, we met him unknowingly in the first Avengers, right? Because he was the one that sent all those things. In Guardians of the Galaxy, we've seen him in little cameos of the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I like that too, because the Infinity Stones have been around
in all of them.
too. Yeah. So he's been, there just as long as the stones. So it's not like all of a sudden here's all these new things, but
Well, it's been intentional, and I think you can see that it's been intentional from the beginning. Looking back, that we were always going towards somewhere, and it's not just, unfortunately, like some DC movies where things just kind of spring up and let's throw something together and call it good, and whatever happened before doesn't matter, and what happens after we can try again. And so, they were very intentional.
Yeah, it's been a long journey to get to this point.
It's not completed yet.
Yeah.
We're left hanging.
Ooh, hanging.
It's better than some people.
All right.
What do you think?
I would give it an A. It's not an A plus for me. It's not the best superhero movie ever for me. Which is clearly the first Blade.
He's a superhero.
Right.
Blade. Best superhero
Blade
movie.
1 and Blade 3.
We don't talk about Blade 2.
We've never talked about Blade 1.
And somewhere right at the top also is Howard the Duck.
Oh.
And then probably like the first X-Men.
I like the first Superman.
The very first Superman?
Yeah.
The original?
So, no, I'm just kidding. My favorite superhero movie is still Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I thought you were going to say Ghost Rider.
Oh, Ghost Rider. Who can forget? Classic Nick Cage.
Nicolas Cage. That's who can't forget.
It wasn't bad.
That's what he sees when Ghost Rider looks at
Well,
him.
I think it's maybe good to remember that there have been some real stinker Marvel movies that have come out, and so good for them that they seem to have kind of figured it out. And my fear is that if it hasn't already done it, it's just going to become formulaic, like the Star Wars franchise. And if you like the formula, maybe that'll be okay for you.
I think it's a little bit different with the superheroes than with Star Wars, because there's a definite beginning and ending.
Oh, I was gonna say suggest, because there's characters that you can keep following.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much. Right. I mean, are you going to go back to where? How far forward are you going to go?
And the other thing about this is my nerd wisdom and stuff like that. But if you want to look at kind of the potential with this, you just have to look at Thor. That he has, and even in these movies that you see like different kind of Thors that you have the original Thor, who's very like, sort of, I'm Thor, blah, and it's very, regal, and then it gets more, it's progressively gotten more like kind of like cheesy and stuff like that, and just more like chill, and he still has those parts of him that are like the big, kingly Thor, but then he's also this,
just a
he's this
goofball.
dude, so
He's a pirate angel.
Pirate angel baby.
So there's a lot of potential, just within a character.
Well, and there's still stuff going on with
Yeah.
his story,
Yeah.
is this can't be the end of Thor's story.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, so we're all agreed that we thought it was pretty awesome and basically lived up to expectations, right?
Yeah.
yes and
It
no.
was more than you thought it was going to be.
It was,
It was definitely better than I was thinking it
I was
could have
worried.
been. Yeah, I was a little bit worried.
I was worried to go in and watch it because thinking about it and how the arcs have gone, everything, like Mom said, everything is built up to this movie for so long,
Right.
that if this movie didn't deliver,
it would be such a massive letdown.
yeah, it would be
Yes,
such a
it is.
massive letdown for everything that they've done. And then how do you move forward from, because this is the stop into, what is it now, phase
Like 4
4 or something like that. So after this is a whole new world after this movie. And if this stop was bad, then what happens to the rest of it?
Yeah.
Well, but again, seriously thinking about where they wanted to go and how they were going to get there is huge. So many franchises don't think about that. And again, with DC, you see that they scramble to throw something together. And if they would just take some time and think about these things and what is the story they want to tell, they would be so much better at doing that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. All right, we're going to run out of time here on the old podcast.
Okay, well, thanks for listening.
So we're going
Part
to
1.
we're gonna stop, take our break, and come back and do the more worldview things that won us all the awards.
All right.
All the bodies.
Oh, the award.
We can snap our fingers and win half of all the awards. All right, see ya.
The Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network brings to you a complete lineup of podcasts where you will hear practical and tactical theology. Our desire is not simply that you consume our shows, but that you also live out your faith in every area of life. We can talk all day long about these things, but if we fail to put them into practice, then we fail as ambassadors of Jesus Christ, our King. Subscribe now to your favorite Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network shows, or you can subscribe to the Reconstructionist Radio Master Feed, where all of the content we produce, including the audiobooks and audio articles, will pop up as soon as they are available. And don't forget to visit ReconstructionistRadio.com to volunteer as a narrator or to partner with this ministry financially. May the Holy Spirit stir you into action for Christ and His kingdom.
I hope they remember you.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, I'm using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
And we're back. Reconstructionist Radio, dominionizing the heck out of the movies.
Woo. Half the movies.
Couple 3.
And so we're here to talk about thematic content and what sort of messages are being preached, what sort of worldview issues are happening being discussed in this movie, and I think I've noticed it's not going to be a big shock. The Russo brothers are a lot less flaming liberal than you wind up with a lot of movie makers. You know, they've kind of turned Captain America into Captain Libertarian, which is fine with me. But I mean, that's not a typical Hollywood move, you know. So I like a lot of their choices. But let's go around. What sort of important issues did you see raised in this movie? Anybody got anything? I know Reagan had something.
Yeah, I did. I just don't want to sound dumb.
Do it.
You don't sound dumb.
Share your heart.
Edit me out if I sound stupid. So, I noticed a lot throughout the movie that, well, the whole thing is about the stones and how they control all these different aspects of reality and the way that the world and universe work. And they're supposed to be the epitome of power, right? But like 3 different times, well, I don't know, a couple different times, you had characters talking about there being something else, something more, and something higher than that. Like, okay, so Thor talks about how he's having a conversation with Rocket, and he's talking about all of the people that he's fought in the past, and he's explaining that he's never died, and the reason why is because fate wants him to live and survive.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And how everybody else is dying.
And how everybody else is dying, you know. But he's survived because he's meant to survive. Like, something is watching out for him. Anyway, so there's
He's
that.
God.
There's that one. And then Gamora is talking to Thanos.
Yes.
On a planet.
Yeah.
And
In a pivotal
what
scene.
is that place called? It's a very pivotal scene. I don't pay much attention. Vormir.
Because it always sounds like somebody else.
Vormir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're on this planet, and Thanos has just found out that he has to do a sacrifice. I don't know. I don't want to spoil the whole thing. Anyways, so Gamora tells him that
She laughs at him.
she laughs at him. That's what she does. She laughs at him, and she's like, "You asked the universe the universe is judging you," is what she says, and she said that he asked it for a prize, and the universe said no.
And then he gets it anyway.
And then he gets in anyway. But I don't know, I just think it's interesting because there's...
Thanos kind of talked about fate maybe ruling things too, right?
Yeah. And so there's always mention... Well, throughout the movie, there's mention of, something bigger than these stones and something kind of overarching.
Kind of controlling events.
Yeah. That's more than, these all-powerful
stones.
Well, that's that fate or fortune or whatever you want to call it. That's not something that's represented by an infinity stone. That there's not an element.
There's not a fate stone.
Yeah, there's not a fate stone or a luck stone or something, a probability stone. Whatever it is you want to call it, there's not one of those. That you have a time and spirit and stuff like that, but you don't have soul. But you don't have
intellect, right? Wisdom.
Yeah, mind, powers,
mind,
and so you have all of these other things kind of represented, but you don't have anything for
chance,
destiny, or anything
for
like
random bad things that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how in a lot of pagan mythology, I believe the Greeks, specifically, above the gods they had, or more powerful than the gods, they had the Titans, and it just seems like in a lot of pagan myth, there's always somebody higher. There's
Something
always
above.
somebody more important, and really, I think that in our culture, you hear this quite a lot. People talking about the universe as if it's an entity that makes decisions. Have you heard people talk like that?
Yeah.
That this is what the universe wants? Or,
They're sending good vibes into the universe.
right. Hoping that the universe will send them back.
Yeah.
Right. And really, that's very pagan. That's just the deification of the creature, turning the creature into a deity. So the universe becomes this all-powerful, deciding force that really doesn't have a personality. There's really no way of knowing what the universe wants and all that. So it's really very pagan. But it's interesting that you have these characters that have these tremendous amounts of power who realize that they're not the top of the stack.
Yeah.
All right. Any other worldview sorts of issues?
Well, I think the obvious one is Thanos' whole deal about
Oh yeah.
about resources and population control and how do you handle things when it's going to go
finite.
south. And,
Everything's finite except
And
for the
about-
universe.
what's going to be good for the most people and what's an acceptable amount of like sacrifice to make. And I think you see that sort of
It's extreme.
it's very extreme.
Yeah, so Thanos basically operates with a 1970s liberal view applied to the entire universe, where the issue is that we have too many people and not enough resources. And if we could just control the population, everything would be better. And so Thanos is actually going to depopulate the whole universe for the sake of...
At least half.
Yeah. See, and
For resources.
that's a weird thing to me. Like that, honestly, that kind of made me mad because I was like, I can understand if you want to just go out and wipe out people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird
Oh,
to say.
can you?
But I can understand that. You're like, you know what, I want to conquer these planets. I have respect for, like, we've been watching the Krypton series where Brainiac just goes and he just picks a planet. He says, you know what?
It takes it all.
I'm going to take it all. And he just destroys it.
And you say, well, I guess if you can,
it's like, okay.
And why not?
I guess to do it.
That Galaxy Eater guy, from the Fantastic Four, he just goes, eats a planet. Okay.
Done, yeah.
Isn't that the same guy?
No.
No, Galactus
Different.
is
In
Marvel.
Krypton is Brainiac.
But they're the same.
No.
No.
Not in this. So, for Thanos to come up and say,
just half is good.
I'm doing this for the good of everybody, and I'm just going to get rid of half of the people, and that they're going to cry for now. He literally says somewhere, "Oh, they're going to cry for now, but you'll
thank me later."
Yeah, give me like a year, 2 years, 5 years, something like that, and they'll be singing my praises, and that made me mad. I was like, no, because that's and that his justification is that I'm not doing it out of malicious senses, and I'm it's completely random.
Yeah.
And you see it on a Gamora's planet that they literally do. They split them up just kind of randomly. They throw one over here, and then they gun down half of them.
I think they gunned down both sides, but...
No, it did. It had just one side of people that they had the other side stand there and watch them kill the other half. And that frustrated me a lot because I think that's kind of maybe not to that extent, but I think there are people that would say, there are people that we don't need. Yeah. And that's kind of I think that's a worldview issue because, we're supposed to see all people as being created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
value.
Yeah, that's a devaluation of people. And I saw this joke, and it was a joke, and it was supposed to be funny, but it kind of worked into it that if Thanos has these stones that he's able to create and destroy things however he wants to, that there's really nothing that says that he can't make more resources.
If that's what he's concerned about.
If that's what he's concerned about.
He could have gone on a different tack.
Yeah, that he could have gathered up all these stones and been like, hey, we've doubled all of our resources, so we're fine now.
Right.
But instead he chooses to use that to destroy people, kind of arbitrarily. Because he thinks that's what needs to be happened. It's not something that's actually an issue. It was an issue on his planet, and so now that's going to be everybody else's problem because Thanos had an issue with it.
Right.
So that kind of
Gotcha.
got me a little bit. I was like, ah. Another thing that I thought was really kind of worth mentioning is that they talked about love a lot in this movie.
They did.
And there were different types of love that were shown in this movie. You know, that there's kind of the sibling love between Gamora and Nebula.
Well, even with Thor and
Even
Loki.
Thor and Loki, you know.
Yeah.
And these are siblings, both of those sets of siblings have, you know, kind of famously in the series, in the
Not
franchise,
gotten along so well.
not gotten along. Multiple tribes tried to kill each other. And at the moment of, you know, you're in danger, you know, coming through for the other person to their own detriment.
Yeah.
You know, and then Gamora and Peter, you know,
Quill.
Peter Quill, yes,
Yeah.
our Lord, that they have to talk about, you know, if Thanos gets me, then you have to kill me. And he tries to. You know, he does pull the trigger on her.
But there's the reality stream.
Yeah, that didn't work out. And then, kind of parental love as well between, I'd say, first Gamora and Thanos. But then you could also kind of suggest in Peter Parker and Iron Man.
And Rocket and Groot.
Yeah,
And
Rocket and
Groot.
Groot as well. That there's multiple layers of love. I think the biggest discussion of that happens with Gamora and
Yeah, Thanos.
Thanos.
Yeah.
That she accuses him correctly that, you know, he's kind of twisted her and messed her up.
He's kind of a terrible person.
He's a terrible person. Which, you know,
Kind of a psychopath.
which I just ranted about, that he's a terrible person. But
It's a
then
little psycho.
Thanos comes back with that,
well,
you know,
off his
I made
rocker.
you,
The most.
yeah, that you
Yeah,
wouldn't
formidable,
be who you are if I hadn't, you know,
If I hadn't
without me
stepped
done
in.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that at the pivotal scene that Reagan talks about is that his sacrifice that he's supposed to make is he has to give up
Something he loves.
something he loves. And so while Gamora's laughing at him, he's like, oh, you don't love anything, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Thanos starts crying. And the Red Skull, who is there,
Where
did he come from? Because, you know,
the
everybody
Red
gets a
Skull is
cameo.
there.
How you doing,
Yeah,
man?
Gamora's like, look at you crying and stuff like that. And he says, you know, he's not crying
For himself.
for himself. And that kind of got me, because I was like, because, you know,
Yeah.
and
Well, and I think people do tend to have a warped view of what love is.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, obviously Thanos' view of love was warped. It was good enough to get the job done, apparently. But I just noticed, like Carmen was saying, how frustrating it was that his line was, "Y'all will thank me later, those of you who survived." It was really kind of a twist, in a twisted way. He felt like he was serving life in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
He was a servant in his view.
Yeah.
He was just
was
the only one
strong
that
enough
was
to do
strong enough and had a strong enough will to do the things that needed to be done. So his was a service-based authority, according to
Himself.
his own mind. You know, like bossy people who, well, that's how I serve, is by bossing people around. Since I'm the boss, so I boss, and that's me serving you.
And then you do what I say, and that's how you serve me.
Right.
yeah, my service is that I put you under me.
And that's our mutual submission.
Oh, beautiful.
It's all working in harmony. Any other worldview issues come out of here?
Well, kind of the opposite of the Thanos thing, I kind of feel like is the stance that the Avengers take about vision
Yeah.
and whether or not it would be right to
What's the best
how to handle
or
his
the world?
situation. Yeah, and Steve says, you know, we don't trade lives for another life. Like, we shouldn't have to. That's not how we deal with
They
stuff.
don't deal with things in a Vulcan manner.
The needs
Right.
of the man.
that it shouldn't have to be okay, if we just kill this one person, then we don't have to kill this other person. Like,
Yeah.
so that they're not willing to make the same kind of sacrifices that Thanos is willing to make, and that in the end is what makes them like the heroes, because they're recognizing the value in even this robot man who, they all saw
Just came out of nowhere. Yeah.
came from like a computer program a couple years ago, so
And that is why they lost.
Well, and it's super frustrating too, because I've been thinking about it. That, well, if they just broken the stone before he got the time stone and all that stuff. But the thing is, eventually, you get the time stone anyway. You just go back however long it takes.
until you get the
stone and you're
unbroken.
fine.
Yeah, that time stone is a big cheat.
It's a huge cheat. Time travel
But-
is generally a cheat in stories.
Hopefully, if theories pan out, the
You're
time
wanting the
cheat.
Avengers to cheat a little
Yeah,
too?
if the theories pan out, the time cheat should play on the other side the next time.
You gotta get the stone.
That's the only way.
Right, all
you know?
the dissolved folks have to come back somehow.
For sure.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
they really
dissolved
gotta.
folks.
Well, before we move on from this, and Jordan made a good point, that is a worldview issue, and I want to talk more about it. But if y'all listening, if you're not familiar, find the American Vision page and
Oh, vision.
Unrelated to the Avengers vision.
right, find the American Vision page and find the article that was recently published by friend of the podcast, Susanna Roundtree. Susanna. Now that I'm talking about her, I don't remember.
Look up the last name.
Roundtree. That's right.
Roundtree.
She did a really great review of this movie and really went in depth on worldview
Self-sacrifice.
issues,
Yeah.
and especially talking about how what's at stake here is the balance, the philosophical problem of dealing with the one versus the many, and are the many more important than the one, or is the one more important than the many, and talking about the Avengers' solution to that and how they refuse to commit murder in order to save the many, but the heroes are always willing to sacrifice themselves for the many.
Sure.
And that Christianity is the basis of that kind of thinking. So anyway, find Susanna's article at American Vision.
It's a good read.
You read it too?
Yeah.
It made me feel like, man, after that, we don't have anything to say on our stupid show.
How will we keep our bodies?
Right.
Well, if you can't read, then the podcast is a great option.
If you can't read or have problems reading, this is at your level.
Rule for people who can't read good. Want to learn how to do other stuff good.
Yeah.
We are the resource for the illiterate.
If somehow you got on a computer and found us,
Let's talk about that just a little bit, though. When I was in the Navy, one of the things they did, and I don't know why they did it, but I had to go to this training where it was almost like worldview training, but they were trying to deconstruct everybody's worldviews, and I'm not sure why that was. I wasn't saved at the time, so I wasn't paying much attention, but I think about it. And one of the things that they did was they split us up into small groups and gave us these impossible scenarios, like you're in a shipwreck and you have a life raft that can save 6 people, but there's 12 people that need to be saved, and now it's up to you to decide who gets to live and who doesn't. And so they have descriptions of all these people, and now you have to decide who's more important and who's not and stuff. Have you done stuff like that?
I've played those games and I don't like them.
No. Well, they come with an agenda, and a lot of the time the agenda is to get you to buy into the idea that whatever works for you is probably the best thing that you should do. Another way that this works out, I think there was a Liam Neeson movie. What was it called? The Passenger, the Commuter?
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't see
Commuter,
it.
I think.
we didn't see it, but it seemed like from the trailer, the premise was that here's a guy and bad guys are now forcing him to. It looks like bad guys are forcing him to commit murder, and the way they're doing that is they're threatening somebody that he loves. They're going to kill somebody he loves if he doesn't commit murder while he's on the train. What do you do in a situation like that? That's one of the types of things that you'll get in these games, of these deconstruction scenarios. Do you give up the one in order to save half the people on the planet? Do you murder the one in order to save a whole bunch of people? And the temptation in those situations is to do the math and say, well, yeah, one's better than, 4 billion or whatever. But in Christian ethics, the math never comes into play. Thou shalt not commit murder is always thou shalt not commit murder. And so if somebody's threatening to kill your family member unless you shoot the president or something like that, the answer is, I'm not going to shoot the president. What you do with my family member, I'm going to try my best to stop you, but ultimately that's kind of between you and God, and I trust God to take care of that. And so I'm not going to violate the law of God for the sake of hoping that good will come out of it. And that's kind of the way I felt like the Avengers were faced with a decision similar to that. Shall we kill this guy? In the hopes that will stop the villain.
Well, I think it's with that. I think the reason that we come up with so many of the Hollywood movies where the hero tries to kill somebody, like with the Liam Neeson movies where he has to go and hunt down whoever it is, that the reason that trope kind of shows up so much, that, kill or have somebody be killed, is that there is the lack of Christianity in kind of pop culture. Because, you can tell a Christian that, but to tell a non-Christian, do this kind of math, that they don't have that assurance at the end that there's going to be justice served.
Right.
So I think that's why that's a popular sort of trope that you see a lot in secular media.
Sure.
Because without that assurance at the end of the road, there's really nothing
the real
to say.
issue is that our own systems of justice are flawed.
Yeah.
And they don't provide justice. So it's hard to believe that justice is a real concept that will happen.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Any other thematic things, worldview things?
Well, again, in this movie, there's the question of who's your master.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that kind of surfaced a little bit.
Well, they say it too, like...
Even explicitly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the Star-Lord, who was on Earth for a short while, went to vacation Bible school.
Must have done. Well, he was in Missouri.
So now he's got no excuse. Well, yeah, and that we've said that a lot, that there's no neutrality. You're either going to serve Jesus or you're going to serve somebody else.
Yeah, but people don't address it. Who's your master? Well,
right.
I am master of my
I'm
domain.
the captain of my own salvation.
I'm the one in charge. What do you mean, who's my master?
Right.
So, and we were talking about dissolving people.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help but kind of relate it to dispensationalism.
Oh, wow. So half of them were getting raptured? Is that...
Well, half of them were leaving. Half of them are left with something that doesn't look so good. And it's all going downhill. So, do you want to leave? Do you want to stay? I don't know.
Mom wins.
So your bumper sticker says, in case of Thanos, this car will be uninhabited.
I don't know which is the better way.
Hard to say.
We'll put a spoiler on this. I was super like thrown, like Jordan said. Everybody who I thought was gonna die lived. Like I was ready for
But-
So much.
so much.
And then
And
it
then
was all flipped upside down. The
I'm not
upside
flipped
down.
upside down. Let's take a minute to sit right there. Tell you how half the Avengers disappeared.
That's a good one.
Well, at the end, then let's play a game. Go around real quick.
Okay.
oh, snap. I'm
Don't
all-
take a long
I'm all
time
in.
thinking about this.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, it's a
My best
rapid fire
kind of
game.
Now you have to give an answer.
Right.
The Russo brothers have apparently said that in the next movie, only 2 of the original Avengers live at the end of this story, and the rest will
Not.
not live. So, what's your vote on who the 2 surviving Avengers will be when the Infinity War story
And
is
the
complete?
Avengers are.
Well, the original 6 is what they said. 2 of Iron Man,
I think there
Thor,
was 7.
Captain America, Hawkeye, Hulk,
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Oh my goodness.
Thor? Did you say that?
Yeah. I said Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hawkeye, Hulk, Black Widow.
Okay.
Thor
The 2 are.
and Black Widow.
Thor and Black Widow is Reagan's vote.
I kind of feel the same way. I kind of agree. Thor and Black Widow.
Really?
That's what I was going to say.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
What's the
Beautiful.
reason for Black Widow?
I
Just feel it.
Yeah, I just feel like
I
that's...
just feel it in my
I just
gut.
feel like that's gonna happen. I don't know why. You just
Yeah,
said
I
don't
said
think
don't talk
too
about it, and now I'm like,
Oh, really?
defend yourself.
The longer you go around, I think
Come on, rapid fire. No time for thinking.
I
Speak.
want to say they all die. Actually, I would go with that they all die. But if I had to pick 2 to live, then I'd say that they'd let Hawkeye and I'm gonna say Hulk.
Hawkeye and Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hulk.
I gotta go with Thor.
Thor and
And it's just all sad. I'll just stay with Thor, and then I'll be prepared.
I want Thor to make it, but I don't.
I kind of feel like
I don't know how.
But in this movie, he really was like,
Yeah.
a big deal.
he wasn't
Yeah.
the god of hammers.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thor was so great in this whole movie.
He was really good. I really do like Thor. I've liked him from the start. He's been great this whole time.
Since Thor.
Like his screwball sort of self
Yeah.
that he is, that's hinted at in those first movies, and it's
Yeah.
just sort of developed, and I'm so happy.
And that reminds me about something else too. When he's talking to the sweet rabbit, and he's saying about, I have nothing left to lose, so I have to do this because I've lost everything already.
So what's gonna happen?
Yeah. So what do I have to lose?
Right.
And I think I just heard a sermon about
from
something
some
like that.
weirdo guy.
Some
That,
guy.
Who
I
could
don't
that
know.
be?
Is that somewhere?
The sermon was about Thor.
Yes.
Well,
Apparently.
about
didn't
how
realize
when you're not afraid of losing anything, that can make you
More bold.
Kind of dangerous.
and dangerous.
makes
Just
you
like
dangerous.
how Thor is able to withstand
Through
the full
himself.
force of a star.
When you have nothing to lose.
It's like, why
then
not?
you have just everything to gain.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Ooh, where's the high five? I can feel it. There we go.
That was not.
That wasn't good.
Oh,
Oh, come on. Oh,
All right.
that's the high 22.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I like him. I like Thor a lot. Going back to, but he's unless something crazy happens, which I've heard theories that something crazy happens. He's
He's the last.
the last Asgardian. That there's no more people. There's no more Loki for him to fight against. There's no more Heimdall.
But half of his people made it out on escape ships, little escape pods.
Yeah. What does that mean, really?
Thor
Because-
must come back.
Because
Oh,
he kills
must come
half
back.
of them, and then he gets the glove. That doesn't mean the glove isn't like, oh, the Asgardians, they already got rid of half
Well,
of them.
there's just half of the half.
So it's
well,
only
my
a quarter.
2. Did you name 2? Thor and
I'm saying it's going to be Hulk and Hawkeye.
Mom
That's
just
what
said Thor.
I just said
oh,
Thor.
okay. I believe it's going to be Hulk because
What is his deal anyway?
This is just monetary. The Hulk storyline hit a new level in this movie. You know, the character is going through some stuff that's unexpected.
Yeah, but he's also doing this with other superheroes. It's not...
Yeah, but I'm saying where Hulk is experiencing things he's never experienced.
Right.
And it just makes me feel like his storyline can't be done. And so... And I think that Mark Ruffalo is so good as Bruce Banner, and the CGI with him as the Hulk is better now than it's ever been. And I suspect that Marvel really does want to make a good Hulk movie, which they haven't yet done. And so I think he's got to live. And then my other guess is Hawkeye, just because I feel like they can get rid of everybody else.
Yeah. See, and I've heard the whole thing is kind of with that because we know it's inevitable that we're probably going to lose Captain America and Iron Man here shortly.
Yeah,
regardless.
They're just aging out.
Yeah,
and their
contracts are up unless they kind of renegotiate everything.
There has been no renegotiation.
Yeah,
well,
so as far as we
doesn't
know,
Tony need to marry
Pepper, you know that
and move on with his life?
It's time for his. You know, he said that he's been haunted by Thanos for how long? You know that it's time for him to be able to kind of shut that down and move on and live. You know, the rest of his life. And the same with Captain America, that those characters kind of deserve a little bit of a rest.
But Iron Man is... Tony Stark is not going to be able to just give up being Iron Man. He's not going to just walk away from that.
I think he's going to have to die.
They're dying off. That's what I'm thinking.
He's got to die. So it's the only way for him to
We just talked about this. How we can't say it.
It's the only way. For his story to conclude, it has to be his death. It can't be he just decides to retire, because
it can't be.
It's not believable. I can't expect that.
I'm not saying he has to die, but like he goes off, Pepper shuts it down, and you just see like Tony Stark stuff coming up. He never just actually shows up anymore. He's just kind of the.
I feel like he has to die either totally separated from any Iron Man technology, or he has to completely dissolve his humanity into some technology for the sake of delivering a final blow or something like that.
I hope he doesn't do that. I really like the Tony Stark character, so either way I'm not happy about it.
Yeah. All right, we've done this long enough. It's time for us to be done.
Oh. All right then.
So we hated this movie. Don't go see it.
Don't break your heart
and watch it every day.
Buy it and don't watch it. It's terrible.
All right, y'all. Next time. Until then, go out and dominionize. Amen. See y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Worldview Media Podcast. Please visit reconstructionistradio.com to check out the other podcasts in our network and to download our free audiobooks.